Hey guys, I'm going to teach you all about direct variation. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to write and solve direct variation equations. So go ahead and get out your binder, turn to the math section, and get ready to take some notes. Let's start out with a word problem example that's going to lead us into what we're going to talk about with direct variation. This should look like something you've done before. It says Aaron works at a gym and earns $6 for every new membership he sells. We're going to use that rate to fill out this table and then graph those points, and then we can decide if the relationship is proportional. I know that if Aaron sells 0 memberships, he makes $0. But can you tell me how much he makes per every 1 new membership? It told us in the problem that it was $6 for every 1 new membership. That rate is constant, so how much money will he earn after 2 memberships? 6 times 2 is 12, so he would have earned $12. So if he gets $6 for each new membership, how much money would he make after 5 memberships sold? Now that we have our table filled out, we can go ahead and plot these as points on our graph. The first point is at 0, 0, the origin. The next point is at 1, 6. We go over to 1 on the x-axis and climb up 6 on the y. Go ahead and finish plotting these points and tell me, what will your graph look like? You should be able to tell that your line is straight and it goes through the origin. That is what makes a relationship proportional. If a graph is proportional, it's a straight line that goes through the origin. But you didn't need the graph to show you this was proportional. You probably knew from the table. It started at 0, 0. It went up 6 for each membership. Even whenever there was 5 memberships sold, it was still 6 times 5 made 30. And you can look at that in reverse. If I look at any point, the y divided by the x will come out to be 6. In situations like these, we've called the 6 the slope, the rate of change, and back in the day, we used to call this the constant of proportionality. You're going to see that term again today with a few new definitions. One of those is direct variation. Direct variation exists when the relationship is proportional, like we just looked at. You can also say that the value of y varies directly with x. So in this case, money varies directly with memberships sold. All that just means is that we can write an equation for the relationship just like we did up here. You might see that constant of proportionality represented with the variable k or with m as the slope. It doesn't matter what you want to call the constant of proportionality or the rate or the slope, as long as you put it right there next to the x. Equations still start with y equals. The only thing you're missing in this that we might have gotten used to is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is 0, so you don't need to write plus 0 on any of these proportional relationships that vary directly. And then like we talked about up here, if we don't know that constant of proportionality or constant of variation or slope, whatever you want to call it, we can always just take the y divided by the x. Let's go ahead and look at question number 1. There's 4 parts to this. We've already answered part A and part B. The first part was, what's the value of k? K is the constant of proportionality or the constant of variation. In this case, that's 6. We do this one just like there was another point in the table. We're going to pretend like there's a 13 coming up here, and we're going to do 6 times 13 to get our answer, $78. Now for the last part of this question, we're going to use the equation to find out how many new memberships Aaron sold if he earned $108. This one's backwards. So where am I going to put the 108? In the equation, y represented money and 108 is the dollar. So we want to go ahead and put the 108 in for the y. If we're looking at this one-step equation, we know we need to get rid of that times 6. So how do you get rid of a times 6? Divide by 6. 108 divided by 6 is 18. It means he would have to sell 18 memberships to earn $108. All right, let's look at number 2. We got a new relationship to look at. It says the value of y varies directly with x. If x is 4, then y is 36. Use this to answer A through D. Let's start with A. We need to find the constant of proportionality given these 2 points. How do you find that? If we need to find that constant of proportionality, we're going to take the y divided by the x. And 36 divided by 4 is 9. So k equals 9. Part B says write an equation to represent the situation. It's going to look very similar to the equation we wrote before. Go ahead and try this now and press play when you're ready to check. I know if there's direct variation, the equation is going to be y equals something times x. That something is the multiplier. In this case, the constant of variation is 9. There are several ways to do C and D. Tell me how you would do it and explain your thinking, and then I'll show you the way I would probably do it. Go ahead and do that now and then press play when you're ready to check. All right, if you're ready to check your answer, or if you aren't sure how to do this, pay attention. What I would do is set up an equation. We know the equation we're going to use is y equals 9x, so then all I did was substituted my values. It told us in this one the y is 144, so I put in a 144 in for y. Then I just worked backwards to solve, so in this case I'm going to divide by 9. In D, I knew that x was 27, so I'll put that in for the x in the equation. Now I'll just see 9 times 27, which is 243. All right, for number 3, I want you to try A, B, C, and D all by yourself. Pause the video now to do that, and then press play when you're ready to check. All right, you had to make sure you did y divided by x. So 3 divided by 12 is 0.25 or 1/4. So your equation could have been y equals 1/4 x or y equals 0.25x. When you're doing this one, you want to go ahead and divide by 0.25. You're going to get x is 64 when y is 16. Then D, you're going to multiply, and whenever x is 36, y is 9. All right, for the next 3 questions, I want to show you a new strategy or a different strategy to do the same thing we were doing. This is called direct variation, but as you've noticed, it has a lot to do with proportionality, and we should know how to set up proportions. Like in number 4, it tells us that the y is 4 whenever the x is 20. Let's write that as a ratio. So far, it's the same. We went ahead and we wrote y divided by the x. Now we want to know what's the value of y when x is 74. So here's the new thing. I want you to write an equal sign and a new fraction. This is how you set up a proportion. We were doing y divided by x. So where should the 74 go? 74 goes on the bottom in place of x. Now that we have our proportion set up, we can cross multiply. I got 296, and then we divide by the number that's not circled. I got 14.8, and that's my answer. So that's just another strategy to solve problems like this. You can try number 5 now using any strategy you've learned in this video or knew already to go ahead and get your answer. If y is 25 when x is 2, what's the value of x when y is 125? Here's both strategies you could have used. I found the constant of proportionality to be 12.5 when I did 25 divided by 2. I plugged in the 125 for the y, and then I divided both sides to solve for my x. If you set up your proportion, I would just make sure that you have your y's on top, your x's on the bottom. Or if you flip it the other way, just make sure that they match, and then you cross multiply, so you multiply the numbers across from each other and divide by the number that's left. Either way, you would get 10 for that one. Both of those are good strategies. Just do what works for you. This question on number 6 says, if a 16-ounce smoothie costs $3.36, what would be the cost of a 20-ounce smoothie? All right, I know if there's direct variation and my relationship is proportional, I can set up a proportion to solve. So that's what I did. I multiplied across, divided by 16. I got $4.20. All right, let's try number 7 together and break it apart. It says the distance a marble will roll varies directly with the time in seconds it's been rolling as shown in the table. The first thing I want to know, what is the distance that it rolls per 1 second? You can pick a point and do the y divided by the x. In this case, 7 divided by 2 will work. I got 3.5. You'll get that same number if you do any one of these, y divided by the x. Now that I know the constant of proportionality or the rate in this table, the question's asking me to find the time in seconds if a marble has rolled 56 centimeters. If I added on to this table, where would the 56 go? In the top box or the bottom box? 56 is centimeters, and centimeters are the y. They're going on the bottom. So how am I going to figure out how many seconds go here? Go ahead and take a minute and try to think of a strategy. Press play when you're ready to check. The 2 main options we've talked about today are setting up an equation, or you can use actually this point in the table like it's a proportion. You can cross multiply these 2 numbers and divide by that number that's left. Either strategy will work. So go ahead and tell me how much time has passed in seconds if a marble has rolled 56 centimeters. Either way that you do this, you should get 16 seconds. All right, last question. This is about a roadrunner, and we're going to answer some true and false questions at the end. It says the distance a roadrunner travels is directly proportional to x, the time in seconds. A roadrunner travels 34 meters in 4 seconds. Use that information to determine which one of these statements is true. There's only one true statement. The first statement is false. The equation would be y equals 8.5x, and C is false. The time passed would be 20 seconds if it traveled 170 meters. All right, guys, that's it. If you made it to this video, I want to know what's your favorite mealtime. Mine is snacks. Today, we learned how to do direct variation. So now you should be able to write and solve direct variation equations. Now you should go back to the calendar and click any other assignments you have left for the day. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye!